In the aftermath of the unexpected defeat, the Galactic Empire was thrown into chaos. Admiral Kor and his fleet commanders had been sent to the edge of their territory, expecting a quick victory over what they thought were weak human vessels. Instead, they were left with nothing but the twisted wreckage of their ships and unanswered questions. The loss was unlike anything the Empire had ever faced. Back at the Empire's central command, the mood was grim. Supreme Leader Thrix paced back and forth, his silver skin glowing under the harsh lights of the command center. The once immense confidence the Empire had was now replaced by fear. They had never imagined that humanity could pose such a serious threat. "We cannot allow this to continue," Thrix said, his voice cold. "The humans have taken down our most powerful fleet with ease. We must act fast, or we risk losing control of the entire galaxy." Zora, the Empire's top strategist, stood beside him. "We've underestimated them, Leader. Their technology is unlike anything we've encountered. It's not just their ships. Their weapons, their tactics, they're all far more advanced than we thought. We have to find out how they developed this power," Thrix snapped. "If we don't, we will lose everything. We've tried everything, but it seems that the humans have kept their technology a secret," Zora replied, her voice tight with frustration. "Their warships, their weapon systems, they don't match anything we've seen in the galaxy. It's as if they've been developing this power in isolation for years." "Then we will make them talk," Thrix said. He turned to one of his aides. "Send a diplomatic envoy to Earth. We need answers." The order was clear, but the deeper concern lingered. The Galactic Empire, with all its resources and advanced technology, had never faced a species like this before. Their arrogance had blinded them to humanity's true potential. Now they were faced with the harsh reality that Earth was no longer just a small, insignificant planet. It was a rising power that had the potential to change the entire balance of the galaxy. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the situation was anything but calm. The battle against the Empire had left humans with more questions than answers. The victory was overwhelming. But the world's leaders knew that this was only the beginning of something far larger and more dangerous. Humanity had just stepped into a galactic war they were not prepared for. President Eleanor Graves stood at the front of a war council, looking at the faces of military leaders, scientists, and engineers. The room was filled with tension, as everyone knew the stakes were high. Earth had won the first battle, but the Empire would not simply back down. The humans had no choice but to prepare for the next phase of the war. "We can't afford to relax," President Graves said, her voice firm. "The Empire will be back, and they will come with everything they have. We need to be ready for a full-scale invasion." General James Arnold, who had been overseeing the development of Earth's secret weapons, stepped forward. "I agree, Madam President. We've seen their technology, and we know they're going to bring everything they can to crush us. But we have something they don't understand." Graves raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "We've been developing new types of weapons, weaponry that uses energy sources beyond anything the Empire has ever seen. We have research that could give us an edge in this war, but we need to stay ahead of them." "We'll support any effort that gives us a chance," Graves replied. "But we need to get these weapons into action quickly." "We have a prototype ready," Arnold continued. "It's an energy-based weapon, capable of taking down enemy fleets in a single strike. But we need to test it. Time is running out." President Graves nodded. "Then make it happen. We can't afford to wait." At the same time, the Empire's diplomatic envoy was making its way to Earth. It was led by a high-ranking ambassador named Varric, a creature of sharp angles and cold, calculating eyes. Varric had dealt with many species over the centuries, and he knew that humanity was different. Their power was undeniable, but what they wanted was still a mystery. As the envoy entered Earth's atmosphere, they were met with a tense silence. Earth's military was on high alert, and every ship and weapon was ready for an immediate strike if anything went wrong. The humans had already shown that they could destroy entire fleets, and no one was willing to take chances. Varric and his team landed in a heavily guarded military base in North America, where President Graves was waiting to meet them. The diplomatic meeting was tense from the start. Varric, though outwardly calm, could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on him. The humans had destroyed an entire fleet without breaking a sweat, and now they were prepared for anything. Graves stood in front of him, her posture confident but her eyes wary. "Ambassador Varric, I'm sure you understand the gravity of the situation. Your empire attacked us, and we fought back. You lost. Now we need to know why you came here." Varric's expression remained neutral. "I come with an offer of peace. The Empire does not seek unnecessary conflict. However, the humans have shown unexpected strength. We have no choice but to seek an understanding." "Understanding," Graves repeated, her voice steady but with a hint of disbelief. "Your empire comes to Earth, destroys our cities, and now you want an understanding." Varric didn't flinch. "The Empire recognizes your strength, President Graves. But we must ask, how did you achieve such power? Your technology, it is beyond anything we've seen." Graves narrowed her eyes. "Why should we share our secrets with you?" Varric hesitated before answering. "Because your survival depends on it. The Empire will not stop until you are crushed. But there may still be a way for you to avoid total destruction." The room fell silent. Every human present was waiting for Graves' response. The idea of negotiating with the Empire felt impossible, but their power was undeniable. Yet the President knew that if humanity could maintain its edge, there was still hope. "We won't surrender," Graves finally said, her voice firm. "But we will defend ourselves. And if you want to understand our power, you'll have to find another way. We won't give you any advantage." Varric's eyes flashed with something unreadable, but he gave a slight nod. "Very well. But remember, the Empire does not forget a defeat. We will be back. And next time, we will bring everything we have." Back at the military base, General Arnold and his team worked tirelessly to perfect the new weapon. The prototype, a massive energy cannon designed to harness power from the core of the Earth itself, was the key to humanity's survival. It was unlike anything the Empire had ever seen, designed to cut through the toughest alien armor with devastating efficiency. But as the weapon neared completion, General Arnold was struck by an uncomfortable thought. The weapon was powerful, but it was also a last-ditch effort. They couldn't rely on it forever. Humanity would need more than just technology to survive. They would need to think beyond weapons. They would need to learn how to outsmart the Empire. In the Empire's war room, news of the failed diplomatic mission reached Supreme Leader Thrix. His anger was palpable. The humans had rejected peace, and the situation was growing more complicated with each passing day. "Prepare for the second wave," Thrix ordered. "We will crush them, no matter the cost." The first battle had been just a taste of what was to come. And this time, the Empire would make sure that no one, especially humans, could challenge their power ever again. The stage was set for a battle unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Both sides were preparing for war, but the true question remained: would humanity be able to survive the Empire's full wrath? And if so, would they ever be able to take back their place in the galaxy, or would the Empire crush them before they had the chance? The tension on Earth was thick. The first victory over the Galactic Empire had been a huge surprise, but everyone knew it was just the beginning. After their shock defeat, the Empire wasn't about to give up. Humanity had proven they could fight back, but could they keep winning? The Empire was far more powerful than the humans had ever realized, and its leaders were preparing for the next strike. Back at the heart of the Galactic Empire, Supreme Leader Thrix was preparing for the most significant military campaign in his empire's history. He had lost face in front of the entire galaxy after the humans destroyed one of his most powerful fleets. Now he was determined to make sure that the next battle would be different. "We will not underestimate them again," Thrix said coldly as he addressed his generals. "We have already lost too much. The humans are clever, but they are not invincible. We have the resources and the manpower to crush them. One of the commanders, a fierce warrior named Commander Goran, stood up and saluted. We will hit them hard, leader. This time, we will come with overwhelming force. They will not be able to stand against us. Fricks nodded approvingly. I want them wiped out completely. No more mistakes. And I want that weapon they used against our fleet, the one that can destroy entire ships with a single strike. Bring it to me. Zora, Thrix's top strategist, spoke up, her voice filled with concern. Leader, I believe the humans are hiding their true power. We don't know the full extent of their weapons or their technology. We've seen only a fraction of it. This makes them unpredictable. Thrix waved his hand dismissively. We will find out everything we need to know once we destroy their major cities. Their technology will be ours for the taking. Once they've seen the full strength of the Empire, they will surrender. On Earth, the mood was just as tense. After the diplomatic talks with the Empire had failed, President Graves and her military advisors knew that a full-scale invasion was coming. The Empire wasn't going to stop until humanity was destroyed, and Earth's military was doing everything they could to prepare for what was to come. The scientists had been working around the clock to refine the new energy weapon that had helped turn the tide in the first battle. They called it the Earth Strike, a weapon capable of firing a concentrated burst of energy that could vaporize even the largest ships in seconds. But it wasn't perfect yet. It needed more testing, more time. General Arnold was overseeing the final stages of the weapon's development. As he watched his team work, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. The Empire was already mobilizing, and their next attack would likely be far more devastating than anything Earth had faced so far. We need to be ready, General Arnold said to his engineers. We can't rely on just one weapon. We need to think bigger. We need to prepare for every possibility. One of the scientists, Dr. Eva Keller, looked up from her console. General, I think we might have something. We've been testing a new type of energy shielding, something that could defend against the Empire's weapons. Arnold raised an eyebrow. Is it ready? We're close, Dr. Keller replied. But it will need more testing. It could take time to perfect. Time was something they didn't have. The Empire was coming, and they were bringing everything with them. Arnold knew that Earth had to find a way to fight back, not just with weapons, but with strategies that could outsmart the Empire. Meanwhile, the Empire's fleet was preparing for war. They had already gathered the largest armada ever seen in the history of the Galactic Empire. Thousands of ships, equipped with the most advanced weapons and technologies, were on their way to Earth. This time, they would not be caught off guard. Admiral Kor, who had survived the first battle, was now leading the assault. His reputation had been tarnished by the humans' unexpected victory, and he was determined to redeem himself. He understood the gravity of the situation and knew that failure this time would mean the end of his career and possibly his life. We are going to crush them, Admiral Kor said to his officers. We are going to show them the full might of the Galactic Empire. They think they can beat us. Let's make sure they know how wrong they are. Kor's fleet was massive, but he knew the humans had something that could turn the tide in an instant. The energy weapon they used in the first battle was still a mystery, and the Empire couldn't afford to let it remain a mystery for long. His orders were clear: find the weapon, destroy it, and eliminate every human force on Earth. Back on Earth, President Graves stood before a massive screen that displayed the approaching Empire fleet. The entire planet was on high alert. The news had spread to every corner of the globe, and the people of Earth were preparing for the worst. But Graves knew that their survival depended not just on their weapons, but on their ability to work together. We've been given a second chance, Graves said to the leaders of the world's nations, who were gathered in a secure conference room. The Empire thinks they can destroy us, but we know better. We've already shown them that we won't back down. She looked around the room at the faces of world leaders, soldiers, and scientists. Our strength is in our unity. We may be outnumbered, but we have something they don't. We have each other. The world's leaders nodded in agreement. For the first time in history, Earth was united in purpose. Nations that had once been enemies now stood side by side, ready to fight for their survival. But the question remained, would their unity be enough to stand against the might of the Galactic Empire? The first wave of the Empire's invasion struck in the early hours of the morning. Ships as large as cities filled the sky, blocking out the sun. The massive fleet deployed hundreds of smaller attack ships, each one designed to target Earth's defenses. The Empire's advanced weaponry began to rain down on Earth's cities, causing widespread destruction. Buildings collapsed, and the sky was filled with smoke and fire. But humanity was ready. The first wave of Empire ships was met with an unexpected resistance. Earth's military had deployed new energy shields over their major cities, protecting them from the Empire's most destructive weapons. The shield technology was still imperfect, but it was enough to hold off the initial assault. General Arnold and his team watched from a command center as the energy shields held strong against the Empire's firepower. "It's working," Arnold said, a note of relief in his voice. "The shields are holding. We might just have a chance." But the battle was far from over. The Empire had far more ships on the way, and they were already launching a second, more powerful wave of attacks. Earth's military forces, though resilient, were outnumbered and outgunned. The Empire had the advantage in terms of firepower and resources. "We can't rely on the shields forever," General Arnold said. "We need to strike back." The Earth strike weapon was ready. The scientists had finished their final tests, and it was time to put it to use. The weapon, designed to harness the planet's core energy, was capable of destroying entire fleets in a single strike. But it was a one-time weapon. If they didn't hit the Empire fleet at the right moment, they would lose their chance to fight back. "General, we're ready to launch the Earth strike," Dr. Keller said, her voice tense. "It's our last chance." Arnold nodded. "Do it." The Earth strike was launched, and a beam of energy, brighter than 1,000 suns, shot into the sky. It collided with the leading fleet of the Empire, causing an explosion so massive that it shook the ground beneath their feet. The blast wiped out hundreds of enemy ships in an instant, and the Empire's forces were thrown into chaos. But the victory was bittersweet. The Empire still had many ships left, and their second wave was already underway. The battle was far from over, and the humans knew that they had to keep fighting. As the smoke cleared, President Graves stood in front of the global leaders, watching the devastation unfold on her screen. "This is only the beginning," she said. "We've made them bleed, but now we need to finish what we started." The aftermath of the Earth strike was a brief moment of triumph for humanity, but the Empire's second wave was already closing in fast. Even as the planet's skies lit up with explosions and the remnants of destroyed enemy ships floated through the atmosphere, the threat was far from over. The Empire's forces were vast, and their relentless pursuit of Earth's destruction showed no signs of stopping. In the weeks that followed, more attacks took place. Not only were human ships being destroyed, but entire colonies were being sabotaged. Critical infrastructure was destroyed, and communication networks were hacked. It was as if someone had set out to tear humanity apart from within. And the more humanity investigated, the clearer it became. The Eldari were not working alone. Several other council species, including the Rogan, had joined forces with the Eldari, pulling the strings behind the scenes. The truth came to light in a shocking way. A human spy, working undercover within one of the Eldari colonies, managed to intercept a classified communication. In this message, it was revealed that a faction of the Galactic Council, led by the Eldari, had orchestrated the attacks on humanity's trade routes. Their plan was to destabilize the human colonies, weaken their economy, and cripple their military capabilities. The message also revealed that they had been plotting to frame a rival alien species, the Talians, for the attacks, all to create division and chaos among the galactic races. Their ultimate goal was to make sure humanity never rose to challenge the Council's power. The shockwave from this revelation was immediate. The human leadership, once trusting and hopeful about the Council's intentions, was now filled with rage and disbelief. The betrayal went deeper than just the Eldari. The Galactic Council, as a whole, had allowed this to happen. They had either turned a blind eye or actively supported the actions of the factions conspiring against humanity. The idea of working alongside these corrupt leaders now felt impossible. Humanity had been deceived, manipulated, and used as a pawn in a galactic game of power and control. In the heart of Earth's government, President Sarah Wainwright, a strong and determined leader, took charge. She called an emergency meeting with the highest-ranking military and intelligence officials to discuss humanity's next move. For hours, they debated their options. Some of the military leaders argued that humanity should strike back immediately, launching a direct assault on the Eldari and their allies. Others, more cautious, suggested they try to open diplomatic channels with the Council, in the hope of resolving the conflict peacefully. But Sarah knew the truth. They had been betrayed, and the Council would never take humanity seriously until they proved they were a force to be reckoned with. Sarah made the decision that would change the course of history. She authorized the formation of a task force of elite soldiers, military commanders, and intelligence agents whose sole purpose was to expose the Council's treachery. The task force would infiltrate the Council's headquarters, gather evidence of the conspiracy, and then, when the time was right, release the truth to the galaxy. But the task force's mission was not without risks. The Council, sensing that humanity was no longer willing to stay silent, had started to tighten their grip. Secret police, loyal to the Eldari and their allies, began to crack down on any human who showed signs of defiance. Spaceports were monitored, and all communications between human colonies were closely watched. The Council knew that if humanity discovered the full extent of their betrayal, they would have no choice but to retaliate. Despite the dangers, the task force moved forward. Their first mission was to infiltrate a high-security Council meeting where a group of Council members, including the Eldari and Hrogan, were planning their next steps. The task force, using advanced cloaking technology, managed to get inside the meeting undetected. What they uncovered was horrifying. In a private session, the Council members openly discussed the strategy they would use to neutralize humanity once and for all. They spoke of using political pressure, economic sabotage, and, if necessary, military force to crush the human colonies. The Council had decided that humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to continue growing. The humans' military might, technological prowess, and refusal to follow the Council's orders had made them a threat to the established order. The message was clear. Humanity had to be stopped before it could become too powerful. The task force captured this evidence and, with great care, made their way back to the human colonies. The mission had been a success, but they knew they had little time before the Council would take action against them. The full extent of the betrayal had been uncovered, and now humanity had the proof they needed. The news of the Council's plot spread quickly across human space. Videos, data files, and recordings were sent to every corner of the galaxy, showing the Council's true face. The public reaction was explosive. The betrayal was too much for humanity to ignore. There was no turning back now. In the days that followed, humanity's leaders called for an emergency assembly. They knew that their time as a member of the Galactic Council was over. There was no chance of reconciliation now, no chance of trust being rebuilt. Humanity had been forced into a corner, and they would have to fight to survive. But they also knew that the galaxy was watching. The Council's treachery had been exposed, and humanity would not back down. The betrayal had pushed humanity to the brink, but it also ignited a fire within them, a fire that would drive them to take control of their future, no matter the cost. The Council had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated humanity, and now the galaxy would see what happened when humanity's back was pushed against the wall. The time for talks was over. The time for action had come. After the shocking betrayal of the Galactic Council, Humanity stood on the edge of a precipice. The feeling of being betrayed by the very entities they had once looked to for protection was something that couldn't be ignored. Every human colony, from Earth to the outermost reaches of the solar system, now faced an uncertain future. But there was one thing the Council didn't count on: human resilience. When cornered, humanity had always found a way to rise above, and this time it would be no different. The truth about the Council's betrayal spread like wildfire. The recordings, evidence, and data uncovered by the task force made their way to every corner of the galaxy. The once peaceful and cooperative relations between humanity and the other species of the Council were shattered. The betrayal was no longer a whisper in the dark. It was an open, undeniable truth. Humans no longer had any illusions about their place in the galaxy. They were no longer mere pawns in a game of galactic politics. They were a force to be reckoned with. President Sarah Wainwright knew that the time for diplomacy had passed. The Council had shown its true colors, and humanity could no longer trust them. They had to act, and they had to act quickly. The galaxy was watching, and every day that passed without a response would make humanity seem weak. But humanity was anything but weak. The first step in humanity's retaliation was to rebuild its military force. While they had suffered losses in the early skirmishes with the Council's allies, humanity had never stopped fighting. Earth's military, along with forces from the outer colonies, had been secretly rebuilding and fortifying their defenses. But now, it was time to take things to the next level. The time for defense was over. Humanity needed to take the offensive. Sarah ordered the creation of a new fleet, one that would be powerful enough to stand up to the combined forces of the Council's most treacherous members. The new fleet would be equipped with cutting-edge technology that humanity had developed in secret during their time in the Council. Advanced weapons systems, cloaking devices, and the latest in battle strategies were all part of the plan. Humanity was no longer playing by the rules of the Council. They were setting their own course. The humans also began to recruit allies from within the galaxy. They reached out to those who had been oppressed or taken advantage of by the Council in the past. Species like the Talians, who had always supported humanity, were eager to join forces. Other species, long overlooked or discriminated against by the Council, saw an opportunity to rise up alongside the humans. They too had suffered under the Council's rule and were tired of being treated as second-class citizens. In response, the Council's leadership grew nervous. They had never expected humanity to rise so quickly. The Eldari, who had once seen humanity as a curiosity, were now deeply concerned about the potential consequences of their betrayal. They had underestimated the humans' resolve and ability to adapt. The Hrogan, a powerful and aggressive species, had long seen humanity as a potential rival, and they had been part of the conspiracy to undermine humanity's growth. Now they were beginning to fear the humans would retaliate in a way that would shake the very foundation of the Council. The Council members, divided by their own fears, began to take action against humanity in secret. They tried to stir up division within the human colonies, using propaganda to turn the people against their leaders. They knew that if they could weaken humanity's resolve from within, they could stop the retaliation before it even started. But what the Council didn't realize was that humanity had already reached a breaking point. The people were united like never before. As the human military forces assembled, they began to strike back. The first major action came when humanity launched a surprise attack on one of the Council's key supply routes. The route, which had been used to send resources to the Eldari and their allies, was a lifeline for the Council's forces. Humanity's fleet moved in quickly and without warning, cutting off the supply lines and disrupting the Council's ability to continue its campaign of sabotage. The attack sent shockwaves through the galaxy. It was the first clear sign that humanity was no longer just defending itself. It was fighting back. The raid was a resounding success, and the Council's leadership was left scrambling to respond. The human fleet had made its point. They were no longer willing to be controlled. They would no longer sit quietly while their colonies and people were attacked. But this was just the beginning. Humanity wasn't content with simply defending its borders. They wanted revenge for every colony destroyed, every trade route attacked, and every life lost in the betrayal. The next target was one of the most strategically important Council outposts, located in a neutral zone between human and Council-controlled space. This outpost was used as a staging ground for Council forces and acted as a key listening post for monitoring human movements. Humanity's fleet, now growing in strength, launched a coordinated strike on the outpost. The attack was swift, precise, and devastating. The outpost, once thought to be impenetrable, was reduced to rubble within hours. It was a victory that sent a clear message to the Council. Humanity was no longer to be underestimated. The human forces showed incredible coordination and tactical brilliance, leaving the Council's military in disarray. The Eldari, who had initially believed they could control humanity through their manipulation and treachery, were now faced with the reality that their plans had backfired. The humans were a force unlike any they had encountered before. Despite their psychic powers and ancient knowledge, the Eldari were no match for humanity's determination and resolve. They had thought they could use humanity's strength against them, but now it was humanity who was dictating the terms of the conflict. Meanwhile, President Sarah Wainwright had become a symbol of hope and defiance for the human race. Her leadership during these dark times had inspired millions. She was no longer just a politician. She was a symbol of everything humanity stood for: strength, resilience, and the unbreakable will to fight for freedom. Her speeches were broadcast across the galaxy, rallying humans and their allies to join the fight. The human resistance began to grow. Colonies that had once been neutral in the conflict now pledged their loyalty to the human cause. The once divided human colonies were united by a single goal: to take back their future from the Council's oppressive rule. The galaxy began to take notice. The Council, which had once ruled with an iron fist, was now on the defensive. Humanity had become a force to be reckoned with, and the Council's unity was beginning to fracture. Humanity's retaliation reached a new level when they launched a series of surprise attacks on Council military bases. The attacks were carried out with military precision, catching the Council forces completely off guard. It was a brutal series of strikes that not only crippled the Council's military infrastructure, but also sent a message to every species in the galaxy. Humanity was no longer afraid. But the retaliation wasn't just about military strikes. Humanity began to expose the corruption and lies of the Council to the galaxy. Videos, documents, and evidence of the Council's betrayal were shared across the galaxy. The truth could no longer be hidden. The Council's actions had brought them to the brink of collapse. Humanity had pulled back the curtain and revealed the Council for what it truly was: a corrupt, self-serving institution that had sought to control and manipulate the galaxy for its own gain. The retaliation had not only shown the strength of humanity's military might, but also their unyielding resolve to stand up for what was right. The Council had made a grave mistake in underestimating humanity. Now, the galaxy would witness the full force of humanity's retaliation. The question that now remained was, what would the Council do next? Would they continue their campaign of deceit and manipulation, or would they recognize that humanity was a force they could no longer control? The galaxy held its breath, waiting for the next move in this galactic chess game. The war between humanity and the Galactic Council had reached its peak. Space was no longer a place of peace. It was a battlefield. Planets, space stations, and trade routes had all become part of the conflict. Humanity had struck back harder than anyone expected. The Council, once confident in their power, now found itself divided and weakened. The Council leaders, especially the Eldari and Hrogan, had believed that humans would surrender when pressured. But they had underestimated human resilience. Every attack, every betrayal had only made humanity stronger. The more the Council tried to break them, the harder humanity fought. And now, for the first time in history, the mighty Galactic Council was afraid. The war had lasted longer than anyone had predicted. Both sides had suffered losses. Entire fleets had been destroyed, and planets were left in ruins. But one thing was clear: humanity was winning. The Council's forces were stretched thin. Many of their own member species were beginning to question if they should continue supporting a war they had never wanted. Some Council members had already started secret talks with humanity, looking for a way out of the conflict. The Council knew they had only one option left: negotiation. A message from the Council. One day, a message arrived at Earth's Central Command. It was from the Galactic Council. The message was simple: "We request peace talks. We are ready to negotiate." For a long time, humanity had wanted this. They had fought not because they wanted war, but because they had been forced into it. But now that the moment had come, there was hesitation. Could the Council be trusted? Was this another trick? Or were they truly desperate enough to seek peace? President Sarah Wainwright gathered her top generals and advisors. The room was filled with tense silence as they discussed the situation. "We cannot trust them," said Admiral Kane, one of humanity's greatest military leaders. "They betrayed us once before. What stops them from doing it again?" "But if they are truly surrendering," said General Valera, "then this is our chance to end the war. We have already shown them that humanity cannot be controlled. If we negotiate from a position of strength, we may be able to get exactly what we want." Sarah listened to both sides. She understood their fears. The Council had betrayed humanity before. But at the same time, she knew war could not continue forever. If humanity kept fighting, they would lose more lives. Even if they won completely, ruling over the shattered remains of the Council would only create more enemies. After hours of discussion, she made her decision. "We will go to the negotiation," she said, "but on our terms." The meeting of enemies. The negotiations were set to take place on neutral station Sigma 9, a space station that had remained neutral during the entire war. It was far from both human and Council-controlled space. No fleets were allowed near it. Both sides would send only a few representatives to ensure no violence would occur. Sarah Wainwright personally led the human delegation. Alongside her were General Valera, Admiral Kane, and a team of diplomats. They arrived on Sigma 9 with their heads held high. Humanity had fought long and hard to earn this moment, and they would not show weakness now. On the other side of the table sat the Council's leaders: the Eldari High Chancellor, the Hrogan Warlord, and representatives of the remaining Council species. They looked tired, desperate. Their power was slipping through their fingers, and they knew it. For the first few moments, there was only silence. Then the Eldari High Chancellor spoke.